Speaking of Amazon and eBay, we talked last week about Amazon has changed the requirement in the fashion categories, and they're no longer allowing sellers to deduct the cost of return shipping on returns. Seller 365 has an article asking the question, will eBay sellers have to pay customers for returns soon? The reason for that thought is that eBay, of course, has followed Amazon's lead in a lot of these instances. They say eBay sellers will need to watch out for the latest ploy from Amazon that could one day impact them. Online retailer announced that they would start charging marketplace sellers in fashion categories fulfilling their own orders for return shipping. Amazon's self-fulfilling sellers will not be able to opt out of this new automated returns program and must also offer free returns to match Amazon's return standard in those categories. Amazon has said for their part, this new policy is to provide a similar customer service experience to buyers as when they purchase items sold and shipped by the online retailer. It appears Amazon is trying to crack down on inaccurate fashion listings that may be causing higher returns. Apparel items purchased online are one of the most returned products across all of online commerce, according to a recent report from the National Retail Federation. We've talked about that here in the past, that if you are a clothing/fashion reseller, your return rate is generally significantly higher. One of the biggest reasons for that is things like it doesn't fit, and that's why sizing requirements are such a big deal in the item specifics and so on. The same study from the NRF found that $565 billion in online retail sales resulted in $102 billion in returns. So 18% of all sales were returned. That is a staggering number. And if you're a small seller and you're taking 18% of your sales back in returns and you're paying return shipping on top of it for all that, that can start to get a little difficult to make some money. The question, of course, is will eBay follow this Amazon returns policy? Amazon has long been leading the way to set policies and customer expectations. We've talked about that on numerous occasions here. Amazon is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and when they start to offer things, free shipping, free returns, 30-day returns, the extended holiday returns, that because of their size and their user base, that almost kind of becomes the de facto norm, and other companies are almost forced to try to follow suit because they've changed buyers' expectations. Certainly, there's a case, they say, to be made that sellers of all sizes must try to be competitive in this e-commerce world, but some of these seller policies eBay has implemented recently forced sellers to adapt to this new customer expectation. By itself, they say that's not a terrible thing. We'll see. I don't know if eBay can go down that path. The new CEO doesn't seem to be following Amazon quite as closely as the previous regimes did. The article points out that most eBay sellers would agree that eBay is not and should not be Amazon, but that doesn't mean that the marketplace is immune to those customer expectations. While eBay has introduced options for sellers to offer free returns, it has not forced the use of them on sellers just yet. Now, they have made it through the top-rated seller program very attractive to do so because you get a discount on your fees. So they're really pushing in that direction, but they have not yet, at least, made it a requirement. So let us know if you're a seller over on Amazon. Have you been impacted yet by that new fashion return policy? And if you are a seller on eBay, are you concerned that that may become the new normal over there? eBay sent out an email mid last week, improved shipping label experience, new payout timing options, and more. The most interesting thing about this email was that there was absolutely not a word in it about new payout timing options. So I'm not quite totally sure what they were referring to there. I know they had said in the eBay Open sessions that they were planning to change the payout timing so that people could theoretically get their money quicker, but this email that they sent out purportedly to talk about that does not actually mention it at all. So, but they do change effective October 15th, which was several days ago. You can now use, if you're paying through eBay rather than with a credit card or PayPal, your pay for shipping with your processing available and, this is new, your on-hold funds, which seems like why not just do away with the on-hold funds thing altogether? And if you have a return and you don't have money in your account, they just bill your credit card or whatever your payment method on file is. Why have three categories of this if essentially the only thing you pay for from that fund, if you will, is your eBay fees and shipping? So if they're going to allow you to pull from it, it's not really on hold anymore. So just get rid of it. Not that eBay listens to me. I'm sure they're not listening to this little old podcast. But anyway, if you're paying for shipping now through your eBay payments, managed payments program, you can use on-hold payments as well. So I suppose that's a little bit helpful. People sometimes get caught in the middle, especially if you're on a weekly payout. Tuesday morning can be a little rough because all of your money transfers out and there's not much left in there. If you've got a big bunch of orders overnight, shipping money can get a little interesting. So they also mentioned that they have changed the transaction report experience, and they have added new multi-user account access so that you can have associates within your group, if you have employees, take on certain crucial tasks without necessarily having access to your sensitive account information. So those are all good things. Thank you to eBay, and let us know about this payout option thing, because I'd really like to move mine from Tuesday. Tuesday just doesn't really work for me, so I'd like to get that moved. But anyway, now to the biggest. Some sellers have called it a disaster, the worst eBay update in history. I don't know how many people it's actually affected. I, for my part, have only had maybe 24 listings that I had to make item specifics updates to. So it hasn't really affected me personally, but there are a lot of sellers who are experiencing a lot of woes with the recent fall seller update. It was announced back at the end of August that it was going to go into effect in early October. Somehow it still managed to catch a lot of people by surprise, and as is usually the case with these seller updates, it did not go very smoothly. I have said on this channel before, I will say it again. Again, not that eBay is listening to me, but I, like several other YouTube resellers have mentioned about themselves in the past, I too spent nearly 30 years in the corporate retail environment. I've managed multi-million-dollar businesses, and these are not the kind of things that we as a business implemented in fourth quarter. These seller updates should take place in first quarter and third quarter so that they take place after the holiday selling season and well in advance of the holiday selling season so that the inevitable bugs in them can be worked out before fourth quarter really gets into gear, especially this year when it's starting even earlier than normal. It's been a real problem for folks, and I don't want to make light of their issues. I will say it's not new. Every time they do a seller update, you may recall my issues back in the spring. I had, as part of that seller update, there were a lot of changes to the media category, and I had literally thousands of listings that required some sort of updates. Looking back, I initially was perplexed by those updates. The one that I probably talked about the most was items, for instance, a CD that was listed in the category of music/CDs now needed an item-specific media type CD. And I thought to myself, why in the world would that be necessary? It's already in that category. But as I look at listings, as I'm doing research for my own new listings in various product categories, I constantly am finding items that are not in the right category. I find records in the CD category. I find CDs in the tapes category, and so on. So we as sellers have not done a very good job of making sure that the data that we put into eBay's system is accurate. And all of these efforts appear to me to be an attempt by eBay to kind of force a little bit of accuracy. And I also would assume that eBay has looked at the data of how the majority of their users use the site, and they've decided that whatever these changes are that they're making will have the most long-term positive impact on the largest number of potential shoppers. There are some folks out there who seem to think that eBay does these things maliciously, that they're trying either directly to negatively impact sellers or at best are just incompetent. And the incompetence thing, I suppose there might be something to that, but I just can't wrap my head around the idea that a company who still makes most of their money from seller fees would purposely be trying to hinder sellers. I genuinely believe, as I've talked about on this channel before, I try to assume positive intent with folks, and I assume that eBay has looked at that data and said that these changes make the most sense long term. In any change like this, there are, of course, going to be winners and losers. Some folks lost some data, some folks, and we'll get into some of the more, nitty-gritty problems with this update here in a minute. But one of the biggest complaints that I saw online was that buyers who had set up bookmarks for searches based on the old criteria, now those searches were worthless. And that's probably true. And those folks are certainly part of the losers of this. But I would say if I'm eBay and I see, and I have no special insight to this, I have no direct knowledge of it, but if I'm looking at the bulk of my users and I see most of them are using my site this way, and I've got this really little group of people, very specialized, very devoted, hardcore buyers of whatever, postcards, records, whatever it is, use the site differently, which of those groups is it going to be most profitable for me to cater to? And I think eBay has made the decision, you can agree or disagree with it, that it's better to make it for this big group. Additionally, I would say that the smaller, more dedicated group is much more likely to adapt and adjust. They still want to be able to find that information, and they will find a new way to set up a new bookmark search or whatever it is based on the new criteria because they're really into it. The broader group, if they don't find what they're looking for on the first or second search attempt, they probably stop looking. And those are lost sales opportunities, not only for eBay, but for us as individual sellers. So all of that to say, this has been very messy, and it's very, as is the case every year at this time, it's very ill-timed in my opinion. But I think over the long term, eBay has made the right decisions. As a seller, you've got some options. I mean, you can go on eBay and you can go on the Facebook groups and you can make a YouTube video accusing eBay of all kinds of things, from incompetence to leadership being a joke to outright malicious anti-seller behavior. But I think that's a waste of your time and energy, to be completely honest. It doesn't help fix the problem that you have today, which is that you're either having money taken from your account that's not supposed to be, or your listings aren't showing up like they should. So you can do that. It would not be my recommendation. What I would recommend is, of course, that you figure out get yourself a stiff drink of whatever it is you drink this morning. For me, it's just coffee. And figure out what you need to do with your business to fix the problem that faces you now. Find out how to most effectively and efficiently update your categories and your item specifics and get on with the business of getting it done. Communicate with eBay when necessary if you've got funds that are being incorrectly withheld from your account and so on. But do the work. There's a notion sometimes within the reseller community that this should always just be unicorns and rainbows. This should be easy and profitable and fun 24/7. And that's just, unfortunately, it's not the real world. If you've been in business, you know that one of the biggest things that you do as a business owner or manager is overcome obstacles, fix problems. That's where the rubber meets the road and where you really make a difference. And this idea that these platforms, eBay, Amazon, Etsy, any of them should cater to us as resellers is probably a little bit misguided. We need to do the work to adapt to them. I will liken it, like one of my college professors did, to buggy whip manufacturers back in the day who were really bent out of shape about the advent of the horseless carriage. They didn't think it was going to be lasting. They thought it was a bad idea. They didn't get on board with the process, and many of them ended up out of business. The ones who didn't are the ones who saw the new reality, saw the new item specifics, and decided they needed to make the changes necessary in their business to fix those problems and move forward. And that's kind of where we're at. The technology, if you follow tech at all, you know it's always moving, and you know that these rollouts of these things are always fraught with peril. There are always problems. If you're a video game person at all, you know that virtually every video game that's released, within sometimes on the day of release, it has an update or a patch. Because a lot of times you don't realize, you can test this stuff all you want, but until you put it out into the wild where you have a big population of users trying to do things in ways that maybe you didn't think of, you don't find all the problems. And unfortunately, that's where we're at with eBay and these seller updates. And that's why they should move them to first and third quarter. Your last option, of course, would be to just leave, which I've heard a lot of sellers talk about. I'm just going to leave eBay. I'm going to go to, the question would be where? Where are you going to go? I looked at some numbers of my own. As you may know, if you followed me here, I sell on Bonanza, which is 2 or 3 sales a month. It's a couple of craft beers a month for me. So that I can't, Bonanza is not the answer. I also sell on Mercari, which I do okay on, but I looked at the numbers. So just to give you a frame of reference of where I'm coming from and why I can't, no matter how mad I would get at eBay, I can't afford to leave eBay. So as of yesterday, I have about 7,100 listings on eBay, and I have a little more than half of that over on Mercari, 3,700, something like that. Over the last 30 days on Mercari, I have had 11,438 impressions. So that is someone put in a search term and one of my listings popped up in the results. And as they were scrolling through, they were exposed to that listing. That is the impression. So 11,438. Over that same 30-day period on eBay, my listings had, wait for it, 1,004,335 impressions. So between the two platforms, eBay, which has less than twice as many listings active, has done 98.9% of my impressions. In fact, my eBay listings have had more clicks by about 1,000, 1,500 than I've had impressions total over on Mercari. So in my personal case, and your mileage may vary, if I got ticked off at eBay, which I do almost every day, to be fair, over something, and just decided, you know what, I'm done with eBay, I'm moving, I'd have to go back and get a real job, because 99% of my business essentially comes from eBay, despite my best efforts to diversify. So speaking of the problems over on eBay with this fall seller update, the biggest ones are the move of items in the collectible category, which should continue to receive a free gallery listing picture. A lot of those sellers are finding that the move from eBay of those items from one category to the other has resulted in a $1 charge per listing. There is one seller who commented somewhere on here, he has like 44,000 listings in the postcard category, and each of those might be exposed to this erroneous $1 charge. Now, if you watched Don, the auction professor's video last week when this rolled out, he was one of those who really went on a rant about this program and how it was not working. And he is one that was exposed to a bunch of charges that should not have taken place. eBay obviously needs to get this corrected and get it fixed so that this does not happen. Again, it's one of those unintended consequences that unfortunately takes place when eBay does these rollouts. But that's a big one, because it, for big sellers, could amount to a lot of money being withheld erroneously, that they now have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get it back, which is not, again, well-timed in fourth quarter. So I totally get it. The other issues were, of course, items not being able to be found. Again, going back to the bookmarked searches, if you had a lot of really specific information in your searches, a lot of those categories and criteria and subcategories went away in this new program. And if you had optimized your search or your listings for those old methods, a lot of your stuff wasn't showing up, which again, going into fourth quarter is certainly not a good program. Another issue that had cropped up, sellers were experiencing that eBay did not enable the standard envelope, which is the super cheap trackable first class mailing rate for things like postcards and trading cards. The big one in this case was postcards, which moved from one category in collectibles to another, and this standard envelope had not been enabled. So you were forced to eat additional shipping charges or to send the item with an untrackable shipping, which you still paid probably a little higher rate for. So of course that was not good. eBay, much like they did 2 weeks ago when they rolled out an erroneous message about media mail rate changes, once they started moving these items, they posted again, quote, "Please don't change your item specifics quite yet. The goal is to get your items to a broader category and work to automatically add relevant item specifics based on the old category it came from. This process will take some time, but we expect it to be completed by the 19th, which was yesterday, though most changes should be completed, they said, by the 14th. So if you're a seller in those categories and you had hundreds or thousands of new required item specifics pop up, did you go in and start immediately changing them, or did you wait? And did the transfer process that eBay is talking about here actually work, where they took the information from the old listing and moved it to the new one, and you did not ultimately have to make those changes? Let me know. Again, I was not in any of those categories that got affected by that. So let us know how that worked out, or if, in fact, it worked out. The question also came up, is eBay going to issue credits automatically for these incorrect charges? eBay, for their part, has said yes. No calls to customer service are needed, as this will be done automatically. But a lot of sellers commented that historically they have found that that has not actually been the case, and that eBay has not made those credits retroactively automatically. So that could continue to be an issue over on eBay. Again, please let us know in the comments, or if you're here in the chat, which I'm going to pop into right now and see if you've had any issues with that new update and how they have affected you. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. I appreciate it. If you want to catch the full Reselling News podcast, click the video in the upper right-hand corner. To never miss a show, you can subscribe down below.